All right. All right. We are live. All right, everybody. We are live. Welcome to the live broadcast this afternoon. It is Mischief Night, October 30th, or as some want to call it, Devil's Night. So, yeah, it is Mischief Night. I hope I got some good ones for you guys. Heck, I might even do some more after I'm done with these. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna get on Discord here. See who's all on here real quick. What? Yeah, I know. All right, there's my message on Discord. All right, yeah, we're gonna be reacting to some more creepy videos here. Well, first of all, we're just gonna be doing one from my state tonight. We're going to be doing Exploring Oklahoma's Weird Folklore, Myths and Legends of the United States. All right. Okay, guys. And then we'll go from there. Like I said before, links to the original videos will be in the description box after the broadcast is over. So if you want to watch those without my reaction, it's fine. You are not going to hurt my feelings. Also, before I forget, it is election year in the U.S. I don't care who you stand for. I don't care or who you vote for. Get up off your ass and vote. Stop giving me that. Stop giving me or anybody else that little spiel of, oh, I don't vote anymore. My opinion doesn't count. Your opinion does count. One person can make a difference. Get out there and vote. To all you Democrats out there, vote. All you Republicans out there, vote. All you libertarians out there, vote. All you Christians out there, vote. All you patriots out there, vote. All you veterans out there, get out and vote. Everybody. That is your God-given right. It's your right, it's your privilege as a U.S. citizen. Your opinion counts. So I don't want to hear any more about it. Get up, get out there, and vote. My dad and I did that today. So yeah, vote. Your opinion counts, guys. So quit complaining about, oh, it doesn't matter what I... No, I don't want to hear it. Your opinion does matter. It matters. It matters. It definitely matters. So get out there, get off your ass, and get out either to the courtyard or to the courtroom, the courthouse, or wherever you vote, or wherever they hold them, or wherever they hold this, and vote. If you are hoping for certain someone to come into office, with your vote, that might happen. You'd be amazed at how much the vote of one person can turn the tide. So come on. So yeah, like I said before, I don't care who you're voting for. I really don't. If you're voting for Harris, okay, fine. If you're voting for Trump, okay, fine. I don't care. Get out and vote. Your opinion counts, people. Use it. That's what freedom of speech is all about. And that's one of the things the First Amendment is all about. Use it. So there we go. All right, enough of that. I'll get off my high horse. Let me clean my glasses real quick. We're going to look at exploring Oklahoma's weird folklore. Looks like we've got quite a few. Oh, this will be over 47 minutes long. So yeah, we should be here for a while. All right, let's go. Are you guys ready? I know I am. So without further, oh yeah, and I can also see chat too. I've got both monitors going. So without further ado, away we go.
Howdy doody everybody, and welcome back to my journey across the United States. Today we're covering Oklahoma's weird folklore, because urban legends aren't always ghosts or ghouls.
No.
They might be the local story of buried treasure, a geologic feature with supposed magical powers, or even that guy in the neighborhood who goes for walks in his underpants. And on the topic of Oklahoma, no, I will not be talking about that one with the gerbils today. You know what I'm talking about if you know, and don't look it up if you don't. Now, some
no I don't, so I won't ask.
quick notes. For Oklahoma, I've already made a cryptids video for the state where I mispronounced Fouke, Arkansas, way too much. Sorry about that, folks. I'm also making a Ghosts of Oklahoma video right now that'll be coming out in October, so keep an eye out for that. Beyond this, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, and I want to let you know that if you want to help me out, the best possible thing you can do for me is subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. It'll never cost you a dime, and it's a quick way to say, hey YouTube, this guy's alright. With this in mind, come with me today, and let's see what Oklahoma's got in store in the weird department.
My state's got some weird stuff, alright. Tulsa Hex House, ooh.
In 1944, some strange things were going on in Tulsa. One Carolyn Smith, a 51-year-old, had been noticed illegally obtaining food rations for her dog while police officers were investigating World War II ration books for fraud. And in the darkness of night, she was also seen digging out a grave in her backyard. The house she lived in was also heard with screams beaming out of it in the middle of the night. All of this strangeness eventually led neighbors to call the police, who, upon investigation, found an empty casket was buried in the backyard of the home. But also in this home, there were two women, ages 31 and 30, living in just terrible conditions in the basement of the house. The two women were supposedly hypnotized or something, and essentially they were convinced to work all day and give their earnings to Carolyn Smith. Carolyn Smith, on the other hand, was living upstairs like royalty off of 2 paychecks. And as if it couldn't get worse, Carolyn was also somehow convincing one of the women's fathers to give her money for nursing care for the woman that she was essentially just keeping as pets. The two women she kept downstairs were, in exchange, somehow convinced they would have eternal life if they did all of this for Carolyn, and therefore they were sleeping in the cold basement, actually in crates, literally like dogs. Additionally, surrounding this was the fact that matters in the home were already suspicious, with Carolyn's husband passing away about 10 years earlier, and even her maid being hit by a car while fleeing the home 9 years earlier, with the man driving the car actually ending up passing away too.
Oh my god.
It should be noted that both her husband and the maid had nice insurance policies that somehow Carolyn was able to get her hands on.
Oh dear.
Particularly weird in the case of the maid. Ultimately, this prompted Carolyn to be taken to trial, which sentenced her for some jail time, and after her sentence, she disappeared. Now, the home this took place in is lovingly referred to as the Tulsa Hex House. A lot of people attribute some supernatural stuff to it, but this is really just a tale of fraud and mistreatment of human beings. The home was ultimately torn down in 1975, and today all that remains is the home's stairs and the basement underneath at 10 East 21st Street in Tulsa. Nowadays, although the house itself is gone, there's a haunted attraction that bears its name in the form of a walk-through haunted house attraction to just kind of get young Tulsa natives out of the house, I guess. It's pretty much nothing now, but anyways, this is just a crazy story about a crazy woman who treated people pretty terribly, and maybe offed a couple people beforehand too. Wild stuff.
underground Chinese city. Oh.
If you're savvy on your history, ancient underground Chinese cities should be something you've heard mentioned before.
Yeah.
From an ancient underground network of tunnels below Beijing to a nearly 5,000-year-old stone city found in Inner Mongolia, the Chinese are no stranger to building underground. But what if I told you in the 1800s and 1900s, rumors were circulating that there was another underground Chinese city, this time buried below Oklahoma City, where there were not only tunnels leading between Chinese businesses, but also an entire underground city full of Chinese migrants with businesses, living quarters, temples, and more. Now, let me be clear, if the following story exudes racism or harmful stereotypes, these are not my views. I'm just sharing history and the opinions of folks from the past as I've uncovered them.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people get historical facts and historical landmarks and historical memories and artifacts and things like that and confuse them with racism, which it's not. It's just about everybody nowadays in their demented mind wants to refer to everything as racism when it's not.
The following saga and speculation are regarding underground cities that supposedly dwelled below OKC, as reported by the old-time media in Oklahoma City. 19th century China was sort of in chaos. Like many groups of immigrants that came to America, their reason for doing so was because their home country was experiencing extreme economic troubles leading to poverty and famine. Contrast this with the prospect of wealth in America during the timely California gold rush, and things were clearly looking a bit better on this side of the Pacific. But sadly, the grass is not always greener, as when the gold rush ended, suddenly there was a new cheap source of labor in the US, and many of the Chinese were put to work on farms, in laundromats, and of course as railroad workers. Hence why almost any fifth grader can tell you that in the 1900s it was the Chinese who built the Transcontinental Railroad.
Yeah?
Now, as they immigrated to the US, some of them actually made their way to Oklahoma City and the rest of the Midwest, and it's estimated that in the year 1900, about 200 Chinese lived in Oklahoma City. Now, in the year 1900, it's worth noting the USA didn't necessarily like the Chinese. Many white individuals felt that their willingness to accept low-paying jobs was pushing the white man to accept worse living conditions and working conditions, and this sentiment had spread throughout the US government and workforce, leading to decisions such as one excluding Chinese from American citizenship, and the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act that actually briefly banned Chinese immigration to the USA until they became our ally in World War II, at which point they were admitted to the USA in limited numbers. In the midst of all of this, the Chinese in the USA in 1900, supposedly feeling the pressure, decided it might be better to get away from prying eyes and move slightly underground. This story is perpetuated by publications in the newspaper, the Oklahoman, such as the 1921 article that details health department inspectors and a police officer being led through caverns underneath OKC's Chinatown while inspecting a business. And then, when they went to go see another business that was also Chinese-owned, they were greeted happily, almost as if they'd been expecting the visit. This led the group to suspect that somehow the business they'd just visited had, through a network of tunnels connecting the businesses, managed to warn the second business of a looming inspection. This is all considering the fact that the inspectors did not see telephones in the first business, by the way. Now, tunnels like these were never actually found, nor was the rumor of an underground cemetery or temple ever confirmed, but there were some findings in the basements below restaurants at least. For instance, in August of 1922, below a Chinese restaurant, an opium den was discovered. Apparently, it wasn't all too uncommon for legal Chinese Americans to allow smuggling operations, drug trafficking, and even illegal Chinese immigrants to dwell on their premises, or to even rent out parts of their facilities to these individuals and to turn a blind eye to whatever they were doing down there. They were also more than happy to accept the cheap illegal Chinese labor, according to the accounts I'm reading. Now, it's worth noting that accounts like these were essentially real and slightly suspicious findings that were probably mixed with the accounts of illicit activity in the basements of Chinese-owned establishments, and I suspect this is what led to the sentiment told among white communities at the time that the Chinese citizens of Oklahoma had subterranean lairs where they operated illegal businesses far and wide and perhaps even lived. At this point, you'd probably think this was mostly nonsense. Except in April of 1969, something curious was found. Some construction crews in the city were demolishing some unused buildings when suddenly they discovered, I quote, a set of expertly crafted stone stairs. These stairs ended facing a wooden door with a Chinese padlock on it, leading to what were essentially ruins of an old Chinese laundry and opium den, with a basement that had little bitty rooms from which no outside light could have gotten to. On the walls there were old Chinese cartoons and newspapers. It's hard to imagine that as you walk through Oklahoma City these days, similar dens don't exist, hidden but waiting to be found, under your feet. Perhaps there was some truth in the idea that the Chinese were living underground after all. It may not have been the intricate tunnels that the white neighborhoods of Oklahoma City imagined, and they certainly weren't in the form of an underground city, but it does appear there's some physical evidence, in addition to the oral history that's there, pointing towards underground Chinese settlements in Oklahoma City.
Wow. Legend of the Iron Door, okay.
Hidden deep within the Wichita Mountains, there's a legend that can go toe-to-toe with that of the lost Adams Diggins about a metal door behind which gold is tightly sealed and stashed, possibly among the bodies of those that dug it up in the first place. This is the story of the legendary Iron Door in the Wichita Mountains. Now, the legend I stated is pretty much the gist of it. A fabled treasure lies behind an iron door. Some say mined gold was stashed there, and other stories say that the door conceals the mine shaft itself. No single story seems to entirely agree on this, nor do these stories agree regarding who put the gold there in the first place. A common contender for the gold's original owner are, of course, the Spanish, who supposedly did what they did and enslaved natives and forced them to mine gold, when they identified a suitable mine in the Wichita Mountains. If you believe this legend, the Spanish, mid-mining, decided they urgently needed to leave, and rather than let the natives go and spread the word of their gold, they actually decided to seal the native slaves inside of the mine, alongside their treasure, leaving what would today be skeletons of natives alongside piles of gold, in a scene that would look all too familiar in any Indiana Jones movie. In this version of the story, there's also a haunted element, with the native ghosts generally guarding the cave. Suspect number 2 was named Belle Starr in life. She was a female outlaw with a knack for helping criminals turn their stolen goods into cold hard cash. She was basically an OG money launderer. As her version of the tale goes, in the 1880s, she helped a gang get a hold of about $500,000 in today's money, and rather than let them spend it willy-nilly, she offered them the hot tip to take the cash and stow it away in the mountains behind a door, covering it with rocks and dirt. Now, of course, in this version of the tale, the outlaws she helped got thrown in the slammer for good after their next heist, and she actually got blasted with 2 shotgun shells shortly after, leaving the whereabouts of the door, in this case, a mystery as well. Next up, there's Jesse James, who ran the appropriately named James Gang, and apparently they stole about $1 million modern dollars from a Mexican caravan in the area, deciding to hide it away in the Wichita Mountains. James is also connected to Belle Starr, so some decide that this and the prior legend are somehow conflated, with Belle Starr essentially consulting for the James Gang to help them pull off a heist. Now, this story isn't totally bogus. Some stolen goods from the James Gang have actually been found in the Wichita Mountains, but certainly not $1 million in gold. Rather, the James Gang treasure that was found was actually just a kettle, with the name of the James Gang adhered upon it, as you can see in this photograph of an old news clipping. But at least this treasure was found using one of Jesse James' treasure maps, so maybe there is some credence here. So, while it's not entirely conclusive who buried the gold, if the gold even ever existed in the first place, these suspects generally point to the gold having been buried in the 1880s at the latest, given that's when Jesse and Belle passed away. Of course, we wouldn't know for sure who it was unless the treasure was found, given this whole saga is sort of based on hearsay. But hey, that's what a proper treasure hunt should be, right? And while this treasure hasn't been found, or at least brought forward, I should note there are quite a few stories of folks who claim to have found the treasure. Now, of these stories, the most likely to be embellished was a story of a guy who apparently found the treasure map that led him to the door in the late 1800s, and he actually broke it open, finding gold and skeletons. But of course, those dastardly Native Americans showed up and chased him off. In my personal opinion, I couldn't find a consistent name attached to this story or to the person that told it. And given somehow natives were apparently guarding the treasure like this one smells like BS.
Yeah,
There's also a story from the early 1900s that's far more credible in my eyes, where a father and son duo that were ranchers were riding their horses near Elk Mountain in a canyon when they suddenly spotted some glare coming off of the eastern side of the canyon. Rather than explore, they decided to go home, only to, a few years later, actually hear the story I'm telling right now and go back to investigate. They obviously could not find the door upon their second inspection. Next, there was a man named Silas Lee Isom, who was a gold prospector, who apparently had a tale of a woman named Holt from Missouri. This woman in 1908 apparently had a map and key that were given to her by a nameless outlaw at his deathbed, and this outlaw told her, on his deathbed I should say, of an iron door in the mountains. Now, she followed this map and tried to find the treasure and open the door with the key, but obviously she didn't find it. And this is the general gist of all of the people who claim they found the treasure. I won't bore you farther. Beyond these stories, there are also a few short and sweet tales of young boys finding doors in the woods, and there was also a middle-aged man in his 60s who was apparently wandering the woods lost and found the door and didn't think much of it, and then heard about the door and decided he was going to go back for the door and had a heart attack on his way back. And there's also a handful of hunters that have claimed to see weird doors in the mountains. But none of these folks have come forward with any definitive proof on the matter, so for now, this is all staying unsolved. But what do you think? I mean, clearly outlaws were stashing their treasure in the Wichita Mountains. There's proof of it with Jesse James. But do you actually believe that millions of dollars of gold are stashed away? Clearly, I'm no definitive source on this matter, but I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below.
Not too sure about that. Oklahoma's nuclear conspiracy.
The Karen Silkwood story is the sort of tale that stirs a deep sense of outrage and possibly highlights the extent to which powerful companies and possibly the government can evade accountability. It's a story about an individual with a good heart who put herself in the line of fire with the hope of protecting her fellow employees, only to find herself far out of her depth. Then at the end, you sort of think it might even have a happy ending, and when you least expect it, you watch the bad guy get away with the crime and ride off into the sunset with his big wad of cash and possibly a nuclear warhead. Karen Silkwood was born in Texas, and as a high school student, she developed a fascination with chemistry, a passion that apparently guided her future as she enrolled at Lamar College in Beaumont, Texas to become a medical technician. Her academic journey was cut short, though, because just after 1 year in college, she got pregnant and decided to become a mother rather than follow the academic pathway she was on. This too deteriorated, as her marriage was strained by financial mismanagement and her husband's infidelity, leading to the couple declaring bankruptcy and ultimately getting a divorce. These are the circumstances that led Karen to get a job at Karen McGee, a company that produced plutonium fuel rods in Crescent, Oklahoma. Her role here involves polishing fuel rods filled with radioactive plutonium pellets, a task that exposed her to hazardous conditions. Soon after she began work there, an unsuccessful strike was held, which dissuaded many of the union members on site, causing lots of folks to quit. But not Karen. Karen ended up joining the union's bargaining committee, dedicating herself to improving the health and safety conditions for workers at the plant. This led her to uncover alarming violations. She found that workers were exposed to unsafe levels of radiation due to faulty respiratory equipment and improper handling of radioactive samples, and she actually took her findings to the Atomic Energy Commission in 1974. Among the allegations was the disturbing claim that enough plutonium was missing from the plant to build multiple nuclear warheads. The situation took a sinister turn when Karen, after a routine self-check, found herself contaminated with plutonium, seemingly by accident. During this self-check, she discovered her body had levels of plutonium contamination that were about 400 times the acceptable limit.
Oh my god.
Further analysis revealed that plutonium had been deliberately placed inside of her gloves, suggesting maybe an attempt to poison her. The following day, despite having only done paperwork, she was again found to have been exposed. She was once again decontaminated, but later her home was investigated and also found to be radioactive, leading to an investigation by the Los Alamos National Laboratory. Now, it was presumed by Karen and her family at this point that the company, in an attempt to shut Karen up, was exposing her purposefully to radioactive materials. But somehow this didn't dissuade Karen, and she continued to prepare to expose the company's wrongdoing to the media, and now on her laundry list of things to expose was her own contamination. On November 13th, 1974, this led her to leave a union meeting at her workplace with a binder full of evidence against Karen McGee and drive to meet a New York Times journalist in Oklahoma City. Tragically, that was the last time she was ever seen alive. Her car was discovered crashed in a culvert on Highway 74 with no sign of the documentation she had been carrying. That evidence was gone and was never to be seen again. Karen was pronounced dead at the scene. Inside of her car, there were a ton of illicit substances, none of which she had previously been known to use, and those were blamed for her accident, ruling it a simple case of a traffic accident induced by substance abuse, assuming she'd just become drowsy and drifted off the road. This, of course, wouldn't explain the skid marks and the dents on her car that indicated she could have been forced off of the road or tried to avoid whatever fate had befallen her regardless. Karen's family indeed suspected her passing was due to foul play, especially since she had reported receiving threatening phone calls prior to her death. An examination of her remains revealed plutonium contamination consistent with inhalation and ingestion. Further investigations uncovered that 44 to 66 pounds of plutonium had even gone missing from the plant, prompting a federal investigation. The plant was eventually shut down in 1975, and Karen's family pursued legal action against Karen McGee for negligence, during which time they and their legal representation were continuously harassed, and an investigator even went quote-unquote missing during the whole ordeal. Despite the intimidation and mysterious threats that plagued their legal efforts, Karen McGee eventually settled out of court, paying them $1.38 million. Through this, the company admitted no wrongdoing. Perhaps the most damning detail of this whole case is that through the research done by the family's lawyers, there was speculation that she had unwittingly uncovered a larger plot to smuggle plutonium abroad, potentially involving the US government and Israel. To this day, these theories remain speculation, as the out-of-court settlement apparently ended the matter. Whatever the truth is, it seems those behind it, if there truly was a conspiracy, got away with it.
Children. I didn't say so. Oh, man.
In 1907, Pauls Valley State Training School for White Boys was established, and soon there was a thriving campus with a farm, classrooms, dormitories, and more. This wasn't any normal school, though, rather young men who had committed crimes ranging from petty theft to flat-out assault, battery, and murder were sent to the school to have their behavior refined and corrected. Perhaps it's because of some of the heinous crimes that the boys had committed that the facility took an approach with a focus on military-style discipline. By the way, I kid you not, there are literal accounts of boys in this school that were sent there for theft of food who were placed in the same classroom as kids that slaughtered their families. That's quite an amount of contrast, even for a legitimate prison, let alone, a school for kids. The way the school operated was by basically having the boys not only get a decent education, but a strong work ethic, and by making them perform manual labor, I suppose, as punishment. Here in the mornings, the boys would work in the fields, and by afternoon, they would attend the school. And then later in the day, they'd usually practice trades ranging from cooking and pressing to farming and engineering. Generally speaking, this was a school that hoped to prepare young men for what was then the real world. From what I can tell, boys weren't generally permanently posted here after their sentencing. Rather, they were, on average, placed in this facility for just about a year and a half, or shorter if they took to their new, more disciplined lives quickly. If you can't tell, the place was essentially a prison for children, although at least a relatively nice one. Around 1945, the purpose for this building shifted, though, and it became a hospital for epileptics. Today, the Department of Corrections has taken over portions of the facility, and they're transforming it into a law enforcement training site, with the new facility set to be named the Washita Valley Complex.
Springer, Oklahoma, Gravity Hill. Okay.
Alright, so compared to the last story, this one is the definition of chill. Here we have a special road near Springer, Oklahoma, where it appears that gravity has decided to look the other way. If you're driving down the road, to the eye, it pretty much looks like you're going uphill, but if you're bold enough to stop your car on the road and throw it in neutral, you'll find that your car actually rolls what appears to be up the hill. Now, of course, plenty of folks say, "It's a ghost," or "This here be aliens," or even, "There's a strong magnetic field right below this road," with some even claiming there must be a giant magnet buried under the ground at the top of the hill, or that even this is caused by a gravitational anomaly. But these stories fall on their heads when you realize that, if you pour water on the ground, it'll flow uphill too, and, well, water isn't magnetic, right? Same thing with a soccer ball. And if this were just actually some weird gravitational phenomenon, well, let's just say you wouldn't only notice it on the hill. Everything in the area would be being pulled in the direction of the top of the hill. Now I know this is a boring story, and most of y'all probably know how it ends. In short, this is just an optical illusion. Basically, the real deal here is that the Gravity Hill's slope is really slight, and the trees and foliage are ever so slightly leaning in a direction that would suggest a slight hill. And thus, while you're on a hill, and uphill appears to be in one direction, and reality uphill is in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I'd sort of laugh at this, but apparently enough people experience this optical illusion that it was reported all over the place when I was researching weird stuff in Oklahoma. So hey, maybe it's worth checking out.
That might be. Center of the universe. Ooh, dear.
In Ohio, we saw the center of the world, a town that was founded on high hopes, but remains as more of a memory or maybe even just as a novelty. Here in Oklahoma, there's a place with an even more ambitious name though, the center of the universe. So once again, I reiterate, is this the terrible place where the world elite conspired to convince us that butter is bad for you, that D&D doesn't lead our youth to adopt Satanism, and that birds are real? Well, once again, not quite. Rather, the center of the universe is actually a small 8-foot diameter concrete circle, which in the center houses an acoustic phenomenon where, essentially, if you're in the center, any noise you make is loudly echoed off of the nearby concrete benches. But outside of the circle, you can barely hear a single thing. The structure was originally actually on the Boston Avenue Bridge. Back then, it was a bridge for vehicles and there was no echo. But a fire damaged the bridge, and they ended up making the area into a pedestrian walkway in the 1980s. During which time, they designed the concrete benches, and as the story goes, they accidentally created this acoustic phenomenon. It's also not even clear who started calling it the center of the universe, and given it was constructed and this name started pre-internet, the origin of the name might be lost to time, or more likely is confined to the archives of a local library that I'd have to drive 1,000 miles to get my hands on. Regardless, this obscure attraction is visited by 10,000 folks per year, and it's frankly the sort of odd experience that I would personally love to stop by.
Brandon Scandini Circus.
Near Edmond, Oklahoma, a city with nearly 100,000 people in central Oklahoma, there sits a creepy abandoned circus that as of recent is said to have been completely overgrown with vegetation. There's a lot of urban legends that the spot is haunted, either by the old animals held at this location, or, hilariously, by the ghosts of old circus clowns. But in reality, the only thing haunting this place for the past few decades are the clout chasers and mischievous kids that probably frequent the closest businesses just down the road from the property, a vape shop and a Sonic drive-in. Maybe this is some kind of vape, snacks, abandoned places holy trifecta, but I digress. This abandoned circus is known locally as Gandini's Circus, and right off the bat, I should say that who Gandini was and whether he was even real is dubious at best, probably an urban legend in its own right. In reality, the abandoned circus equipment dates back to a circus that was started in the early 1900s that fell apart due to the Great Depression, leading to it being bought in 1943 by one Howard Suez, who used the assets of the circus to start the Clyde Brothers Circus, an indoor circus that performed in stadiums and arenas. In 1949, he also opened the Hagen Brothers Circus, an outdoor version of the Clyde Brothers
Oh.
Circus that was a tent show. This property's role in the whole saga is that it was used as a winter camp for the animals and animal tamers because of Edmond's mild climate and because of its
Yeah.
access to rail lines passing through the area. Now, I should note that the next phase in life for the circus is a bit confusing. One source I read stated that in 1976, the circus was sold to Carden and Johnson International Circus, and the winter camp was moved, leaving much of the old equipment that housed and trained animals to just deteriorate for decades. Another source that is perhaps more reputable states that the property now belongs to one Jose Bereda, a relative of the circus's late lion tamer who had the circus camp property deeded to him when the old owner passed away. Now, where the camp used to operate, there are 4 or 5 trailers where the clowns, acrobats, and animals used to be housed. These days, much of the remaining circus equipment is vandalized, but perhaps for the better, it's on the way out too. The last news reports of the place's condition I read and all of the YouTube videos I watched suggest the place is in pretty poor condition, and it's been overtaken by vegetation and probably is in an unsafe state, given folks know its location and regularly trespass there. As of 7 months ago, a local news station also seemed to report that the abandoned equipment was still in the area, though I'm not entirely sure because as of June 2023, plans were announced to remove the circus equipment and make it a multi-use development. But at least the developers plan to give the new development a circus-themed flair. I don't entirely mind this. Sure, we're losing a creepy abandoned place, but with time a new one will pop up, and at least the history of this plot of land is going to be remembered in its design. According to the developer, he's going to try to incorporate parts of the abandoned circus equipment in the new establishment. So at least this cool, creepy, and kind of iconic haunt for the locals will be remembered.
That's good. Oklahoma's coastline? I didn't know that.
In Oklahoma, there's a simple myth that although Oklahoma is certainly landlocked from an oceanic or Great Lakes perspective, the state of Oklahoma has more shoreline than any other state. The legend claims that somehow its lake shores total to giving the state the most shoreline of all. I mean, let's think about it. The state does have 3,000 lakes and ponds totaling more than 10 acres, and 200 of them are man-made lakes, so maybe it's possible. That is, until you consider the fact that pretty much every state, even landlocked ones, have a ton of interior lakes. Sorry to burst the bubble of folks that might believe this, but Minnesota, for instance, has almost 12,000 lakes that are 10 acres or larger. And don't even get me started on Alaska. They have literally 3 million lakes that are 5 acres or more in size. Sadly, Oklahoma just doesn't stack up in this regard, and this is most certainly an urban legend, as Oklahoma, in actuality, is 35th among all states for the percentage of water surface versus land area, and it doesn't even crack the top 30 in terms of shoreline.
That's kind of what I thought. The parallel forest. Okay.
In the Wichita Mountains near Lawton, Oklahoma, there's a spot called the Parallel Forest. In this forest you can find 20,000 red cedars, and these trees, planted across a 16-acre area, are exactly 6 feet apart across the entire forest. In this forest, there are various legends of everything from buried bodies to the Ishkaidni, or basically an owl-like variant of the Skinwalker, to forces that will drive folks to go insane and become disoriented. Some even say that witches roam this forest, and because of its relative similarity throughout, the center is hard to find, so the witchers have established an altar where they hold their dastardly ceremonies in the center. So is it true, though? Are monsters roaming this forest, and are they the reason that this forest has grown in such an odd fashion? Well, gosh darn it, no, get your head on straight. This wasn't done by the forces of evil. This was done by the US government, which I guess occasionally can be considered a force of evil. But at least they don't use black magic, right? In reality, the forest is indeed a bit weird, and the pictures definitely make it feel a bit eerie, given no forest I've ever been in is so symmetrical, but it's not flippin' haunted, or at least it's not paranormal forces to blame for making it look this way.
Yeah, I remember, guys, we watched this, we watched something about the parallel forest not too long ago. Yeah, I remember that.
In reality, the forest was planted in 1912 to fight back against the Dust Bowl, a time in American history when dust storms were essentially sweeping across the Plains region because of the combination of an ongoing drought, strong winds, and farmers plowing up large swaths of land that had previously been grassed, or grassy, I guess I should say, holding the soils in place. Now, sure, in this forest there are weird noises, but goodness gracious, haven't you heard there are animals that live in forests, and they are well known to make noises. There's also a really weird circle near the edge of the forest that helps push the whole witch legend, but in reality it's just a relic from the Wichita Mountain Gold Rush in the early 1900s. Basically, rocks would be brought back to this spot that kind of looks like an altar, and they would be crushed to see if gold were inside. The icing on the cake is that the parallel forest isn't actually even named the parallel forest, its real name is simply just the cedar planting. So in short, no, the parallel forest isn't some dreadful place like a lot of websites say, it's just a forest that was kind of planted by people, so it's symmetrical. Still weird though.
Yeah. I can see why they did it. A runestone. Yeah, that's...
So, controversial topic here. Remember that runestone in Minnesota that, if real, would have suggested the Vikings went inland from Newfoundland and actually explored inland North America? Yeah. Well, that one was clearly a fake. But as it turns out, a similar runestone exists in Oklahoma in Heavener Runestone Park. Now, the story of these Swedish inscriptions begins for our modern audience in the 1920s, when in an area that is now the park, the stone bearing the writings was found by a Western audience. And later it was realized through Choctaw oral history that at some time in the 1800s, probably the 1830s, a hunting party of natives actually supposedly discovered the stone. Now, of course, it's pretty fishy to find old Swedish runes in the middle of the modern-day USA, and some take this whole episode to suggest that this would have put Vikings in Oklahoma in 1000 AD, roughly around the time it's speculated that Vikings were in Minnesota, if that stone were true. And it's worth keeping in mind that stone probably isn't real. Others think it's more likely that the rune was carved into the stone in the 1700s when, during La Salle's expedition to claim a strategic French settlement near the Gulf of Mexico, someone on his crew may have gotten down to carving. There's also some speculation that the stone may generally just be a hoax, which is more modern than either of the previous episodes I discussed. This wouldn't really be a surprise given that there are no other artifacts in the region, even suggesting that Vikings found their way to modern-day Oklahoma. It's worth noting that this lack of evidence would be weird because they left plenty of evidence behind in modern-day Canada when they settled there for a while.
True.
Now, the reason this park centered around the runestone exists in the first place can be attributed to one Gloria Farley, who developed a passion for the runestone in the 1920s when she was young. And when she was older, she became obsessed with solving the mystery. Through her, the runestone gained international attention and was even translated to Nome Valley, although some of these stories about professors conducting these translations appear to have been fabricated because you'll often find that the individuals mentioned in the stories or the universities they were supposedly affiliated with don't actually exist. So as you can probably tell, the prevailing opinion is that the runestone is a hoax that was likely inscribed after Westerners had fully established themselves in North America. Just who created this inscription, though, will likely remain a mystery. Who knows? Given the inscription says Nome Valley, though, maybe it was some mischievous gnome that decided to make his mark on history.
Mr. Ed's grave. Oh my.
If you haven't seen Mr. Ed, by golly, I'm not sure we can be friends. Look him up right now. Type in Mr. Ed
Yes, I remember seeing Mr. Ed on Nick at Night when I was a kid.
Talking Horse. Do it. Google it. Particularly, look up the episode where he plays for the Dodgers and hits a home run.
Oh,
Made my day when I was 9 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, Mr. Ed wasn't just a crazy character in a TV show and a beloved part of my childhood. He was a real horse, or really multiple horses if you count the first pilot, which were a chestnut gelding in the first pilot that I can't really seem to find the name of, but he did play Mr. Ed once, but not for long because he had a bad disposition. And then there was a second Mr. Ed that was a horse named Bamboo Harvester, a mixed breed of horse who was in the show's second pilot episode and the duration of the series. Now, the reason that I'm talking about this amazing horse is that on Highway 82 in Oklahoma, you can find a large gravestone, and below it lies the horse that played Mr. Ed. On it reads, This monument was dedicated to the loving memory of Mr. Ed on Sunday, August 26, 1990. It is the result of a heartfelt fundraising effort by the people of northeastern Oklahoma and Tulsa radio station Z104.5 FM. According to national media reports, Mr. Ed moved to Oklahoma in the late 1960s after a successful Hollywood career, and he continued to entertain and bring joy to many Oklahomans.
Wow.
Finally retiring in this very field, Mr. Ed passed away February 22nd, 1970. Sadly, the horse that was Mr. Ed passed away due to age-related issues, kidney issues, and arthritis mostly. On the gravestone is the inscription of Mr. Ed, the horse, looking out of his barn window. Hot diggity dog, who's cutting onions up in here? Anyways, I just thought I should spread the gospel of Ed and let you know that in this field, Ed seemed to happily spend his final days, and if you want to pay this icon that made you laugh as a kid or maybe an adult a visit, you can do so. May you keep hitting home runs in the afterlife. Good horsing.
Indeed. Skytook Healing Rock. Ooh.
Now, in my video on Georgia, we saw a healing springs, and I thought the concept of collecting healing water in your camelback and bringing it home was pretty neat. But in Skytook, Oklahoma, a bit north of Tulsa, they have a healing rock. Sadly, from what I'm able to tell, you're not able to take this baby home. The origin of this rock has been told to us through the Osage and Quapaw oral history, and it's said that in the 19th century, these cultures told the tale of this rock having mystical powers to heal the ailments of afflicted individuals. Now, the rock itself is 12 feet high and 17 feet wide, and almost looks kind of man-made because it's nearly a perfect triangle with one of its points angled into the air, but according to archaeologists who have examined the rock, it's actually a natural formation formed by erosion, giving it this odd pointed shape. The rock actually used to be located in what's now Skytook Lake, and during the creation of the lake, it would have been submerged, but lucky for the rock and the nearby communities in 1985, locals campaigned to have it moved, leading to its relocation to its modern location. Not much else to say here, though. If you buy the stories, you can go visit this rock yourself. You can touch it, you can hug it, you can lick it if you dare, but I warn against this approach because you probably wouldn't be the first to do so. Winganon is awesome. I drove through it once and I'm pretty sure I could have taken my hands off the steering wheel for at least 45 minutes and been alright. Not that I recommend doing this. Sadly though, when I passed through, apparently I missed its best known feature, a space capsule. Apparently, alongside Winganon Road between Highway 169 and Oologah Lake, there's what looks to be a Cold War era space capsule just lying on the side of the road. But I promise you, NASA didn't forget to pick up its astronauts back in the day. Rather, the space capsule lookalike is actually just the main vessel of a concrete mixing truck that was left behind after an accident a long time ago. Now, I can't necessarily tell you what a long time ago means. Some say this accident happened in the 1950s and others the 1970s. But regardless, a cement truck had a rollover at some point and it got towed away, but in classic towing company fashion, the job was only done halfway. And they left the cement container behind. Maybe it was because it weighed too much, who knows. Eventually, after it seemed like nobody was coming back for the container after decades, a local couple, Heather Thomas and her husband Barry, decided that nobody would care if it got a makeover, and they decided to give it a space capsule-like look with rocket motors, an American flag, little buttons on the side, a window and all. Funny enough, though coincidental, an uncontrolled re-entry of a NASA rocket occurred just days before this makeover was actually performed, and I can't help but wonder if a few people freaked out on their commute to work because of this. Anyways, it looks like this space capsule may be in danger of being moved. Apparently there's past due road construction being performed on Winganon Road, and as of January 2023, it sounds like the plan was to remove the beloved artifact, or at least to relocate it. Personally, I think we should keep the world as weird as possible, so my vote is that it stays, if it hasn't been moved as of this time at least. Now, if I'm ever able to get to this capsule, I'd love to prop up a little alien mannequin next to it for a while. It'll probably get moved, but looking at the photos, I think it would be a nice touch. What do you think?
That would be funny, actually. That actually would be funny.
Okay, Oklahoma may not have the most shoreline in the USA, but do you know what it does have? Among the longest, straightest roads in the United
Yeah,
States.
we do.
US 412 running through Oklahoma has a butt ton of straight roadway in particular. I'm not even kidding. You can literally use Google Maps measure feature, and there are a few stretches of 412 where you can drop 30-mile long lines with only 2 points, and those lines will never come off the road at a single point. It's crazy. There's apparently also a stretch of US 54 between Dalhart, Texas and Liberal, Kansas that passes through Oklahoma for much of it. That's 108 miles of just straight boring nothingness. Now, as someone who just moved to the Midwest from New England a while back, I'm still getting used to the concept of open space and straight roads, but I thought this was certainly something weird about Oklahoma that you're not going to find in most states.
Yeah, let's cross it.
Normally, when you hear a name like Dead Woman's Crossing, you'd think it was the name of a story, not the name of a place, but believe me when I tell you I was surprised to read that it's actually pretty much both, and the place bearing the name is northeast of a slightly larger city named Weatherford, Oklahoma. Depending on your source, either on July 6th or 7th, in 1905, a woman named Katie DeWitt James, a 29-year-old, brought her 14-month-old baby, Lulu Bell, with her onto a train to visit her cousin in Ripley, Oklahoma. Now, she was alone with her child for a reason. She'd just recently filed for divorce, about a day earlier, to the chagrin of her apparently abusive husband. At the train station, her dad had been there to see her off, and he thought when she reached her cousin, she'd probably send him a letter. But after weeks went by, her father found a detective named Sam Bartell to figure out where his daughter had gone. The detective found that while Katie was supposed to hop off the train further down the line and meet her cousin in Ripley, instead she, for whatever reason, decided to hop off in Weatherford, and she ended up spending the night with her baby with one William Moore, who she was introduced to by a local working woman named Fanny Norton. After this night's stay, it's said that Katie, her baby, and Fanny at some point hopped into a buggy to go to Hydro. And according to witnesses, the buggy returned shortly after, and again, it parked at William Moore's house, but this time Katie was missing. After this story was uncovered, apparently the police were able to find the child, at least, Lulu Bell, who I should mention was unharmed, and they were also able to find Fanny Norton and take her into custody. And some sources say that upon this arrest, she actually ended up poisoning herself and passing away before she could stand trial. The next month, supposedly on August 31st, Katie was found by a fisherman near a concrete bridge in an area near Deer Creek, where the police had apparently previously heard that 2 women and a baby that appeared out of place were recently sighted. As you might expect, Katie was no longer alive, and she was also found without a head. Now, I should note that although this feels like it has a pretty clear resolution, the case is labeled as unsolved. I suppose this is because Fanny Norton took her own life before she could stand trial. Anyways, this saga is what established the name of the community, Dead Woman's Crossing. Oklahoma, it's been a real treat learning more about you, and I appreciate your support on my Cryptids of Oklahoma video so far. Hopefully you're a fan of this one too. Remember, in the next few weeks I'll be putting out videos comprehensively covering the haunted places of Oklahoma, Michigan, and New Hampshire in October to celebrate spooky season. With this in mind, I just wanted to say thank you for watching and remind you that whether you woke up to some loud noises only to find a space capsule crashed in your front yard, or if you were walking through a graveyard and you heard a ghostly voice utter, "I am Mr. Red," don't you ever forget, it's always story time.
shit. Alright. Well, now that I'm thoroughly rested. Jeez. Well, now that I'm thoroughly rested, hopefully I didn't take too long. Let's just say that was kind of boring. Fuck off. Alright, now that that's taken care of, let's go into nukes. Yeah, I'm awake now. Let's go to nukes.
Top 10 strange and mysterious creatures caught on camera.
Alright.
The creeper in the corner. Now, this video is a bit of a mystery. It was uploaded by Reddit user Spuzz, who says that he found it on Instagram a few years back, but he isn't quite sure who originally posted it. I've looked into it myself, but I just can't seem to find the original source. So, anyway, in the video, a group of boys are investigating what seems to be an abandoned house. When they reach the basement, their exploration takes a terrifying turn.
I'm here. You're starting to vlog? Okay. Yeah. What the is down here? There's a candle, bro.
Who the hell goes exploring in an abandoned basement, abandoned house, barefoot? You guys are idiots.
There's a candle. Is that a candle? Is that a candle? What the is that thing? Oh, I want to see what the fucking lights off. Lights off, dude. Turn the what the shit? I can't see shit. Oh, I can't see shit. Wait, hold on, turn your flashlight. What the is that thing?
The boys find a lit candle in the basement. Then a bizarre hunched-over pale figure seems to crawl out of the darkness. When the boys finally see the figure in their flashlight beam, it hisses at them, and they scream in terror and make a run for it.
I can't see shit. Wait, hold on, turn your flashlight. What the is that thing?
Now, what's even stranger about this video is that Reddit commenters pointed out that when the footage is brightened and slowed down, you can see that the figure only seems to have 3 fingers. But what do you think? Is this a creepy 3-fingered creature hiding in a dark basement? Or is it all just an elaborate hoax?
I don't know, but that was good.
Crawler. Polish YouTube user Leviathan claims that he often hears the horrifying screeches of some unknown creature from the woods near his house. Usually the strange wails and moans are of no concern, as they seem to be coming from far away, deep in the woods. But one night, the screeches seem a bit closer. Leviathan decides to investigate, and it did not go well.
No, it did not.
Some YouTube commenters with a belief in the supernatural claim that the creature is a, quote, crawler, a being that allegedly dwells in secluded places like caves and mines. Leviathan was understandably shaken up by his experience, but says he doesn't believe the creature to be aggressive. But What do you think?
Right.
Let me know in the comments. To see more of
Why don't you-
Leviathan's alleged encounters with this creature, check out his YouTube channel.
Why don't you,
Before we move on to the next video, if you
Go
see
on,
anything that
just
you
walk
think should
over
be
him and
included
see
in the
how
top 5,
harmless
contact
he
us
is.
at nukestop5@gmail.com. A very creepy Christmas. A family in northern Minnesota is celebrating Christmas. As one of the family members films, out the window she spots something strange in the distance, moving along the tree line. The family members head out into the snow to investigate.
Oh my god. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, this.
Stay here, Rip. You stay here.
Let me get closer. I don't know. You guys hear it?
Oh, there it is, right over there.
Oh my god.
There he is.
Oh my god. We better get back inside, guys.
Yeah. Rip.
The family dog, a little Jack Russell Terrier, seems to be particularly freaked out by the mysterious dark figure. It charges out into the woods in pursuit, only to come
yeah.
running back seconds later in abject terror.
I should have thought.
Well,
Rick
that's
got
scary.
stupid.
The footage was posted to a YouTube channel that mainly focuses on cars and weapons, so very little information was provided about the family in the video. Some YouTube commenters believe the creature to be a Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think?
I think it was.
Is
I
this
think
real
it's
footage of a
Sasquatch.
Bigfoot caught on camera? And if not, why does it seem to absolutely terrify that little dog?
Question.
All creatures, great and small. Gwendolyn Severite and her husband live in a small tribal village in Saskatchewan, Canada. One night, they go outside to try to scare some annoying stray tomcats off their property with a spotlight. But instead, they find something truly bizarre. Gwendolyn takes out her phone and starts recording.
Turn the light on. Turn the light on again. The heck is that? Turn the light off again.
Now, the native tribal lands where Gwendolyn lives have many stories and lore about so-called, quote, little people. When looking back at the footage, whatever they captured appears to be a small creature, but with human-like arms and hands. So, is this footage of little gnome-like people? Or is it all just an elaborate hoax? You decide. Return to the water. In the Philippines, 5 young friends vlog about their day as they fish on the Busay River. Without even noticing, they catch something chilling.
Temi karon sa Busay, mubuatan karon managa me. Mo ni sa ang Busay. Sige, pailayla pud mo mga amigo.
Ako nga pala si Justin.
Ako pala si John Lee.
Ako naman si Raven.
Mo ni among kuan para managa me. Tata. Tara.
Ito na to.
Ambak dags. Amak di dagsok pag dula-dula sa ta, dula-dula. Amak nagsambak. Wah! Alisa, wagkwan sa ta dire. Pagitay, papagukay-ukay, banabay mga kwan diya.
Did you see it? In the background, no more than 15 feet away, a coal-like figure seems to run towards the river and then simply disappear out of sight.
Ano siya ang busay? Sige, pailay-ila po mo mga amigo.
Ako pala si Justin.
Ako pala si John Lee.
Ako naman si Raven.
Mao niya mong kwan para managa mi.
When the boys unknowingly walk over to the same spot only moments later, no one there. This mysterious footage remains unexplained. Only a yard away. Shanique Legacy from Fort Pierce, Florida was looking out into his backyard when he saw something move. Thinking it was some stranger skulking around his house, he grabbed his phone and took a quick picture. Later, when he looks back at the photo, he's shocked by what he thinks he's captured. You see, Shanique believes the dark shape lurking in his backyard bushes is a werewolf. So, anyway, still reeling from the terrifying encounter, he grabs his phone and starts a live broadcast on Facebook. He explains to his friends what he has just witnessed. Anyway, looking out...
Look at that. Yeah, there he is.
When the boys unknowingly walk over to the same spot only moments later, no one there.
No one there.
This mysterious footage remains unexplained.
That is weird.
Only a yard away.
Oh, yeah.
Shanique Legacy from Fort Pierce, Florida was looking out into his backyard when he saw something move. Thinking it was some stranger skulking around his house, he grabbed his phone and took a quick picture. Later, when he looks back at the photo, he's shocked by what he thinks he's captured. You see, Shanique believes the dark shape lurking in his backyard bushes is a werewolf. So, anyway, still reeling from the terrifying encounter, he grabs his phone and starts a live broadcast on Facebook. He explains to his friends what he has just witnessed, and also shares his rather unique take on the experience.
If that was a wild dog, that was a huge ass wild dog. That was too big. That was too big, man. I don't know what the going on, y'all. I'm so freaked out right now. So I went back and, re-looked at the pictures again and zoomed in on them.
Too damn big. I know what you was feeding him is. Too damn big.
Was staring at me, like, was literally looking dead at me, like, looking right at me, like, you got me at the one eye, just looking at my ass, one eye on me, looking at me.
Now, at first, Shanique's live broadcast may seem like a hoax or even a comedy bit. But during the live stream, Shanique heads over to his backyard door. He intends to show his live stream viewers where the creature was standing. But instead, he captures this.
That's my backyard. I'm zooming in a little piece. This is the exact spot that I just...
Whoa!
I really don't know what the going on.
Oh, hello, Leonidas. Welcome to the channel. New subscriber, welcome, buddy.
Joking ass dog. Man, I swear to God, I don't know
Oh,
what's going on.
I forgot about this one. This is good.
Right now. Y'all. Hell no.
Oh.
Seems to quickly dart across Shanique's backyard. His live stream viewers...
Hell no, you ain't just see that. I know I ain't the only one just seen that dog. Hell no. Hell to the mother... No, hell no.
A strange transparent shape seems to quickly dart across Shanique's backyard. His live stream viewers believe that the figure could be anything from a supernatural wolf-like creature to an evil demonic entity. As for Shanique, he says he is terrified and claims he has seen and continues to see a scary creature resembling a werewolf lurking around his home. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Twitter at NukesTop5 because it's a nice thing to do. See you soon.
Oh. That's it. Oh, hey, buddy. Maybe it's not a werewolf. Maybe it's a she-wolf. Maybe she likes you. Maybe you got a secret admirer. And she's a real-life furry because she's a werewolf. All right, guys. All right. Now we're going to go on to Goose Pimples. Here's their Halloween special part 1 featuring Southern Cannibal. All right, let's go. You guys ready? I know I am. So without further ado, away we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Goose Pimples Halloween special. I know this is a little different than usual, but I'm Southern Cannibal, and today I'll be covering today's video. So if you're all ready, let's get started. Number 7, Finders Keepers. This scary video filmed on a day meant for family fun playing hide and seek takes a sharp turn into the unnerving when the seeker behind the camera senses something isn't quite right. And trust me, her gut feeling was spot on. You see, losing a loved one can either tear a family apart or pull them closer together. For this family, the passing of their grandmother had brought them tighter than ever before. Every year on the anniversary of her death, they gathered to pay their respects, and even 7 years later, nothing had changed. The tradition was still going strong. In the middle of the heartfelt memories and laughter, the kids had the bright idea to kick off a game of hide and seek. Harmless, right? But after just a few moments of searching, the seeker behind the camera started to feel like something was off. And let me tell you, she was right to be freaked out, because when she turns around, she spots this.
ちょっと待ってよ。今見えたぞ。どこだ？こっち？どこですか？どこかな？あ、ここかな？こっちかな？手で。あ、いない。
Now at first, it looks like just one of the younger siblings darting out of sight. But wait, where the hell did they go? And why weren't there any footsteps? She followed the figure through the narrow alleyways, but still couldn't find her siblings anywhere. Until this happened.
いそう。ここら辺？どこかな？あれ？いない。あれ？どこ？あれ？
Thinking it was one of the hiders, the seeker swung the door open, ready for that sweet gotcha moment.
Oh! Did Grandma show up and decide to join the fun? Oh! Got us a ghost child.
Only there was no one inside. No way someone could have peeked out, hidden in the room, and vanished before the door even swung open. The space was way too enclosed for anyone to pull that off. And to top it all off, just as she's pacing this bizarre moment together, the kids come running from the opposite direction. They were all hiding together, planning to jump out and ambush her. But who or what the hell did we just see behind that door?
Oh my!
The figure was small, ghostly pale, with a mop of deep black hair, just like all the other kids. But here's the kicker. She's convinced she saw her grandmother's twin, who died when they were just 7 years old. Creepy, right? But how could it be? Let us know your thoughts.
Wow.
Hey, what do you think of the new design? Dark, isn't it? Well, you better hurry up because the Halloween edition ends on the 7th of November. And once it's gone forever. Number 6, hanging around. While trying to film the city just after sunset, this tourist noticed something strange out of the corner of his eye. Now at first, he brushed it off and got back to his recording, but the urge to glance at the nearby bridge just wouldn't go away. And when he finally gave in, his blood ran cold with what he spotted there.
Oh yeah, this. I remember seeing this. What is this? It's a picture of a very skilled acrobat.
It seems like an animal crawling along, until you notice its eerie similarity to the rake. No fur or hair whatsoever, humanoid-like and butt naked. The way this figure moves, it's not human. It almost bleeds into each new position instead of shifting naturally as it crawls along. What in the hell is this figure? Some kind of cryptid? Or maybe something a bit more explainable? Number 5, stigmatized. Maguro, the guy who recorded this creepy video, was living in what's called a stigmatized property. Basically, it's a place no one wants to rent or buy, not because it's falling apart, but because of, well, let's just say all the gory reasons you can think of. But Maguro, he couldn't care less about all that spooky talk. Why? Because the place came with one hell of a bonus. A cute cat left behind by the now deceased previous owners.
この猫は僕が住んでいる家の前の住人が飼っていた猫なのですが、前の住人と連絡が取れないため、木村さんという夫妻に保護してもらっています。この動画はその木村夫妻の家で撮影しているものです。木村夫妻は両方とも昔からの友人です。木村夫妻の奥さんの方から引っ越しますという連絡をいただきました。
Unable to take proper care of the cat, Maguro handed it over to two close friends, who as it turned out were living in a stigmatized property themselves. But when they mentioned they were planning to move, it wasn't the usual next step in life kind of move. It was an escape plan. Something seriously spooky was going down. They'd always known someone had tragically passed away in the house before they moved in. But lately, they felt like whatever was left behind wasn't resting easy. Intrigued, Maguro asked if he could come by, film inside their home, and maybe get an interview. The wife fell ill on the day of the interview, but here's what her husband had to say.
ここは通算5年住んでるんですけど、だんだんなんか嫌な感じがあって、目黒君には言ってなかったんですけど、 もともと事故物件でつっても20年以上前の話なんで、あんま気にしなかったんですけど、ここ賃貸です。でも不動産屋さんがずっとやり取りしたことのある不動産屋さんだったんで、ここが事故物件だってのは知ってはいました。前々からなんか変なことはよくあったんですけど、最近になってなんかいろいろ現象がひどくなりだしたんで。
This is where things start to get strange. Just as her name is mentioned, Chiaki the wife, she suddenly wanders into the room, almost like she was summoned. But it's her husband's reaction that really gets you. He freezes up, absolutely petrified, like he's just seen a ghost.
もともとうちこの子もいて、で新しくこの子も来たんで、あんまりこう猫的にも引っ越しとかは良くないから引っ越しはしたくなかったんですけど、ちょっとうちの嫁の千秋の調子がどんどん悪くなってきて、今ごめんしてるから。
Yeah, maybe he was just anxious for her to rest in bed. But why the rush to shove her out of the room like she wasn't supposed to be there at all? Meguro couldn't shake the weird feeling creeping up his spine when he pointed the camera toward her. It was like something was off, so he dropped the camera back onto the table. Turns out the strange occurrences weren't caused by the cat from Meguro's old property after all. So what else could it be? Well, it seems like all signs point to Chiaki herself.
いやー、なんか具合悪くて今、最近あんな感じで今も寝室で寝てて。
病院に連れてか
なんか体調が悪いっていうか、なんか取りつかれてるみたいな感じになっちゃってて、なんか最近の霊能力者とかの人たちのなんか寄り合いみたいなのにもなんかすげえ参加してるらしくて、なんかすごい、まあそういうのもあってちょっといろいろ心配で。
ちなみに猫新しい方を飼い出してから変な現象が漏れ出したっていうわけじゃない。
いや、新しい猫が来るだいぶ前からなんかずっと変なことが起きてたから、多分関係ないんじゃないかなと。
Meguro couldn't help but notice the way Chiaki's husband handled her, just a bit too forcefully, and then came the bombshell that left him speechless. Throughout the rest of the interview, the husband didn't offer much insight into Chiaki's supposed possession, almost like he was dodging the topic entirely. Still intrigued, Meguro was given free rein to set up cameras around the house. But the footage, you ask? Well, let's just say it was far from what he was hoping for. Take a look.
What is that? Ooh, that moves.
And that could have been for so many reasons. But the story doesn't stop there. Meguro, even the investigator, offered to help the couple with their move. And in true ghost hunter fashion, he set up a few cameras while at it. With Chiaki absent again due to illness, Meguro and her husband hauled what they could, while Meguro continued filming the now eerily empty house. With all the furniture and belongings now gone, the place felt colder, emptier, like it was holding on to something dark. And it didn't take long for whatever was lurking in that house to make itself known.
Ooh. Ooh.
The door creeping open is spooky on its own, but wait until you see what's lurking behind the wall when we zoom in. A pale humanoid figure has been silently watching the entire investigation. Could it be the spirit of the body found in the house before Chiaki and her husband moved in? And here's the kicker. This wasn't the only time something supernatural was caught near that door. One night before the move, Maguro left the camera rolling in that exact spot and captured this.
He's just like that. What in the world? This man selected. Where's the cat? What is going
Remember
on?
when Chiaki's husband mentioned she was possessed? Well, it's looking like a classic case of pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
Because what the hell is he doing in this clip?
Yeah, what
According to Chiaki, living with him became terrifying. Her constant sickness, she says, was due to his violent outbursts. But here's the twist. Ever since the move, the pair and their cats have been doing just fine. Chiaki and her husband have both recovered in their new home because whatever was gripping onto their lives is still lingering outside that very door. Hey everyone, just taking a quick pause here. Once again, my name is Southern Cannibal. I narrate true scary stories here on YouTube. So if you like my narration and style, maybe consider checking out my channel. Alright, number 4, Peekaboo. While eagerly awaiting the next batch of holiday pics from their friend's trip to Chile, this person was really hoping to soak in the vibe of the crisp clean air through the screen. But as they scrolled through the stunning landscapes and smiling faces, they suddenly stopped dead in their tracks and started shivering. Why? Because one of those photos had them reaching for spare pants instead of their suitcase. If you can't see it, don't worry. It's pretty hard to spot, so we'll guide you to it. Trail your eyes to the left side of the photo, and then down in between the heads of the two women. Now let's give it a little zoom and, yup, there you go.
Whoa.
Nightmare fuel. Some commenters are convinced that the creepy face in the photo isn't just an illusion. It looks way too detailed for that. Some say it's gotta be a ghost, or maybe even something more sinister like a demon. Sure, there's skeptics out here saying it's just pareidolia, but let's be real here. When something looks this freaky, I think it's hard to chalk it up to just a camera trick, don't you think? The creepy thing, the family didn't even notice it until later. Whether it's just an optical illusion or a real spirit caught on camera, the fact is no one there had a clue who that person could even be. Number 3, the Cecil Hotel. If you've spent any time freaking yourself out online, you've probably heard of the Cecil Hotel, and with good reason. It's one of the most haunted spots in the world. Opened in 1927 in downtown LA, it was supposed to be luxurious, but after the Great Depression, things took a nosedive. Instead of high-class guests, it became home to folks from Skid Row and anyone else down on their luck. Those 700 rooms, they've seen some serious tragedy. Even Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, called it home for a little bit. But the real case that put this place on the map? Elisa Lam. Elisa, a Canadian student, stayed there in 2013, and things got super weird. CCTV footage shows her in the elevator pressing every button, stepping in and out like she's hiding from someone or something. 19 days later, they found her body in the rooftop water tank. Guess had been drinking that same water. Pretty gross, right? Her death? Ruled an accident due to bipolar disorder and missed meds. But for a lot of people, it's really hard to shake the Cecil's dark history. And when a TikTok surfaced in 2021 showing someone's uncle working there, those old fears fired up again.
My uncle is currently working at the Cecil Hotel, and this is what he sent me.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. That's creepy. Oh, hello. I see you've got some paranormal activity going on.
Some commenters chalk this up to automatic doors doing their thing. But come on, with the hotel's dark backstory full of tragedy and despair, can we really just shrug it off? Is it really that far-fetched to believe that something else might be lurking in the halls, just waiting to make itself known? Number 2. Birdsong. While chilling on her patio, Kate heard a strange birdsong coming from somewhere nearby. Thinking she might be in the presence of some rare bird, she grabbed her phone to record it. But as she filmed, a weird feeling crept over her. The chirping started to sound off, almost like it wasn't coming from a real bird at all. That's when her gut told her to look towards her neighbor's abandoned home, and what she saw next made her blood run cold.
Oh dear, what did she say? I don't see anything.
Look closely at the window. There's a faint outline of a gaunt, haunting face pressed against the glass. Pretty creepy, right? Well, Kate thought so too. She even took to Reddit to explain how she got this deep, gut-wrenching feeling like she was staring at something that she was never ever meant to see. But the Redditors had a different theory. They chalked it up to pareidolia, a psychological trick where your brain sees familiar shapes and random patterns. They suggested that it could have just been the curtains messing with her mind. But here's the thing, if it really was just a trick of the mind, why did Kate feel that cold, unnerving sensation? Something tells us this wasn't just curtains playing games.
No, I don't think it was either.
Number 1, side by side. This guy thought he was in for an easy night, just keeping an eye on the CCTV at Sandroke Cemetery. But after just a few brief minutes of chilling, something caught his eye that sent chills down his spine. Let's take a watch.
Ooh, what is that? Ghost? I mean, it could be a...
It could just be a camera glitch.
Yeah,
But why does only one figure look ghostly while the other two appear perfectly normal under the same lighting? Maybe it really is a technical issue. Or maybe, just maybe, it's one of the cemetery's long-lost souls wandering in front of the camera.
It might be. It just might be. Ooh, well, there's Goose Pimples Halloween Special 1. Oh, damn. I need something to put on my seat here, man. That, even with that cushion bottom, man, that still hurts. All right, let's go to Halloween Special 2. It'll depend on whether we do anything else after this. We might not. I don't know. We'll see. Alright. Scary Videos, Halloween version 2. Featuring Sleep is Canceled. You guys ready? I know I am. So without further ado, away we go.
Number 7. Ghost Hunt Gone Wrong. It's never a bright idea to go full Rambo mode into one of the most dreaded paranormal sites in the state, especially when you're a noob in ghost hunting. Why? Because you'll go from that to running for your spare pants in a heartbeat. That's exactly what these Mystery Inc. wannabes found out when they decided to explore an old creepy-ass building. Let's just say the experience was a bit more than they could handle. Take a look.
I can imagine.
Look at that. It's like somebody fell through the roof or something. These are stairs. I don't know. Watch where you're stepping now. This is the room. Can't really see, but it's just a big empty room with, it's like the fireplace caved in or something. See that? All right, let's go in here.
Oh, snap. Watch out, guys.
This is creepy, dude. You hear that? Creepy.
Hey, guys, look at that hole.
Huh?
Looks like someone tried to...
Creepy, man. Hold on. You hear that? Shh. Quiet. You hear that? Did you hear that?
I heard something. You going first.
What the hell is that?
I love that shit. You going first.
Whatever it was. Creepy as heck.
Oh.
I don't know. Kitchen looks overheated.
Bricks falling down. This whole wall's gone, dude. That's crazy. Old stove. I don't remember if you... Hold on, you hear that?
Oh.
Let's get out of here, man. It's creepy. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my! Get out of here!
Building from the last clip is an old Civil War.
Armed with their poor equipment and a few kids who should have just been doing their homework, armed...
Say, the building from the last clip is an old Civil War era building which was hit by a cannonball. The cannonball killed many people, evidently some stayed behind. Oh yeah, we've seen this before.
With their poor equipment and a few kids who should have just been doing their homework, they ventured into the old boarding school, one said to have been destroyed by a cannonball during the last Civil War, tragically killing everyone inside. As they moved deeper into the building, eerie whispers began echoing from the shadows.
That's creepy, man. Hold on. You hear that? Shh. Quiet. You hear that?
And their unreliable flashlight was doing them no favors.
No.
Shaken by the growling coming from the shadows, they decided it was time to turn back and head for safety. But not before coming face to face with a chilling figure lurking in the hallway. The sight of it sent them all into a full-blown panic, racing toward the nearest exit in pure terror. But come on, let's be honest, wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Number 6. Laundry Room Poltergeist. On a quiet Friday night, while just trying to handle some laundry, this lady got the shock of her life. Everything was chill, just hanging clothes to dry, until she turned away for a split second. And bam, this happened. Take a look at the bone-chilling footage caught on her security camera.
Ooh. Even the cat's going, what the what? Ah, the cat's going, I'm out of here. Ooh.
Being home alone, with her husband working late, she swore it was the first time anything like this had ever happened. They were sure the house wasn't haunted, until now. Judging by the way the rack crashed violently to the floor though, it's pretty hard to deny there might be some otherworldly stuff at play. I mean, clothes don't just get yeeted off a drying rack, and racks don't topple over with no wind. Did you catch the cat bolting right before everything went haywire? Of course, there could have been strings pulling everything, but we don't see any in the footage. Could it have been a pesky poltergeist having some fun? You decide. Let us know in the comments. Hey, what do you think of the new design? Dark, isn't it? Well, you better hurry up because the Halloween edition ends on the 7th of November, and once it's gone, it's gone forever. Number 5. The Hat Man. After a long night of partying, a group of girls, along with a few guys, were driving home, pretty cooked, when they decided to make a quick pit stop at a local store. Little did they know that the night still had one last thrill in store for them. As they pulled up to the parking lot, one of the girls, still feeling the effects of the night, spotted something strange in the distance. At first, the rest of the group brushed it off, thinking she might have had one too many drinks, but determined to prove she wasn't just imagining things, she pulled out her phone to record. What she caught on camera left them all in stunned silence.
De que está cerrada la Dairy Queen, güey, a ver si en construcción. Cállate, y hay un señor allá adentro. ¿Qué chingados hace ahí, señor? ¿Qué hace ahí? Es un señor con sombrero.
No se ve nada. No
ya no se ve, pero
no
sí se... No.
Ah, no, sí está.
¿Sí está?
Ah, ese es el velador.
Ay. Un velador no se va a vestir como si fuera, no sé, turista o acapulqueño. No se va a vestir
como la muerte, para asustar a la gente y no se entran a robar por eso.
A man in a hat briefly appeared sitting in the corner of the store, except this was well past closing time, and no one was supposed to be there. What made it even creepier, he looked totally relaxed. Not exactly the vibe of someone sneaking in. Security guard? Maybe? But how come he vanished as soon as the camera panned? She swears the figure kept appearing and disappearing before she finally caught it on video. Was it a spirit hanging out in the shadows? Or just a reflection playing tricks? We'll leave that one up to you. Number 4. Chilling basement sounds. This scary video is about to take you deep into the Welsh countryside, where a quiet couple's life took a terrifying turn. In June 2018, Alan and Christine Tate had lived peacefully in their cozy home for over 11 years, when one night, Christine heard something strange, eerie sounds coming from all over the house. The kitchen, the bathroom, even the basement seemed to come alive with unexplained noises, leaving them utterly freaked out. Determined to find out what was going on, they set up recorders around the house, and when they played them back, well, take a listen for yourself.
Ooh. Who's listening with him? Ooh.
They scrambled to figure out the source of the blood-curdling screams. But as they moved from room to room, one terrifying realization hit them. It wasn't coming from outside, and none of their neighbors were the cause. But unfortunately for them, it didn't end there. Soon enough, the sounds became even more terrifying. Banging started day and night. Drilling sounds so strange they even began to wonder if these were demonic growls. Hours and hours of these scary noises got captured over time, and they weren't about to just sit around and take it. They checked with their neighbors, thinking maybe it was construction work. But nothing. They even put their ears to the cellar floor, desperate to track it back. But nope, nada. The sounds were coming from inside their house. Muffled, almost like they were coming from some other dimension, or maybe a portal to the underworld itself. Desperate for answers, they decided to take things into their own hands. They dug a hole in their kitchen floor and dropped recorders inside, hoping to capture whatever was lurking below. But instead of answers, they got even more chilling sounds. Spooked beyond belief, they took the recording straight to the police, hoping for some help. But as you might have guessed, the cops didn't buy it. They called it paranoia and gave the place the most half-hearted investigation imaginable, claiming there was nothing unusual. And this is where it gets real interesting. Alan and Christine weren't about to take the L. They did their own research and uncovered something that made their fears all too real. They found out that an abandoned World War II bunker and a hidden underground road ran way too close to their property, almost 2.5 miles from an old colliery. Suspecting they'd stumbled upon some kind of illegal underground operation, they did what anyone would: packed their bags and got the hell out of there, living out of a camper van to stay off the grid. A few weeks passed, and silence. No one heard from them until a strange poster surfaced in Gloucestershire, hinting at what might have happened. To this day, Alan and Christine are still completely in the dark about what might have been happening beneath their old house, making this one of the most unsettling mysteries in modern Britain. But what was really happening underneath them? Was this elderly couple right in their suspicions? Could the cops have been in on it? Or was it just a clear case of paranoia? Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Number 3, the cursed mummy. When it comes to the paranormal, YouTuber The Willow Project is as skeptical as one can be. He's always believed that ghosts and all things supernatural are just cap, tales spun out of fear and paranoia. He believes there's always a logical explanation for any so-called paranormal activity. So to prove his point once and for all, he decides to visit a local antique store and buys the item with the spookiest backstory he could find, without even waiting for the owner's do's and don'ts. Feeling pretty stoked about his dope item, he sets up his camera to film the unboxing of his latest acquisition. But he made the fatal mistake of throwing away the little note left inside the box, because he couldn't understand what was written there. It didn't take long for things to go south, as he claims to have been losing sleep, hearing voices through the walls, and lights flickering on and off when no one is around. His followers, mostly fellow skeptics, brushed it off as just another stunt. However, as he records himself trying to make them believe, the lights in his bathroom start going berserk, with a doorknob mysteriously moving. But the entity he brought home was just getting warmed up. A few days later, after returning home from work, he walked into the bathroom to find it completely trashed. At first he thought his roommates were pulling an elaborate prank on him, until he noticed the taps running by themselves. With no one else home at the time, he instantly knew it had to be the mummy acting up again. Then things got even creepier, as the evil began spreading throughout his house. One night, as he was trying to sleep, strange noises echoed down the hallway. When he stepped out of his room to investigate, this happened.
I guess that's a good example of big things come in small packages, huh?
You guys hear that? What the hell?
I am the mini mummy. Let's go play.
Hello?
And of course the lights are working.
Come on, come on. It's not turning on. What the hell, dude? I'm getting enough of this shit. Seriously.
Oh.
Number 7. Ghost hunt gone wrong. It's never a bright idea to go full Rambo mode into one.
Guys.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Hello? Hello? Oh shit. This is fucked up, man. That's crazy.
Someone, or something, kicked a ball toward him. And when he entered the bathroom, all the lights were mysteriously dead, while the knobs started moving on their own, all at stupid o'clock. Despite these terrifying events, his followers remained skeptical, dismissing it as a hoax, and daring him to set up cameras in the bathroom to prove it wasn't all smoke and mirrors. So he did just that, setting up 2 separate cameras. But the cameras captured even more eerie moments, like the bathroom cabinet flinging open on its own, the taps running, and other inexplicable incidents. By this point, it was getting harder to discredit his claims, but the real shock was yet to come. His cameras were about to capture the most terrifying evidence yet. This clip drove the point home. There was absolutely no way he could have opened the cabinet himself, proving once and for all that something supernatural was at play. From that moment on, he came to terms with the fact that this entity had become a permanent part of his home. He even started playing what he called a game with what must have been a friendly ghost. Take a look.
Guys, this is what I've been doing for the past few days. Yo, that's so nuts, dude. Yo, I kid you not, there's like, for the 100th time, there's nobody behind there, and I have 2 angles running. Look, I'll turn on the light. You see me? I'll close the door behind me. Okay. Check this out. There's nobody in here. Nobody in this room. I'm literally at the entrance. As you can see, I'm gonna turn on the light. Nobody's underneath there. As you can see, turning on the light. Okay. Closing the door. Closing. And remember, I do have 2 angles running. As you can see. Okay. This door is closed. And I'm right here. You see this? Nobody's here.
No.
Behind there.
Nope.
In this unit. As you can see, I'm at this corner of the room. I'm opening this door. Nobody's here. Nobody's here. Nobody's walking. Nobody's crawling. Opening, see on this angle here. I will show here, as you can see. I will show here again. Nothing, 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 nothing. Nobody's behind me.
I don't know. This
as you can
is
see.
weird. This is weird, guys. Really
Nobody's
weird.
on this angle. You see this? I'm telling you. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. What the hell? I closed this door. What the f, man?
Among all this madness, you might have missed the doorknob moving just before the door opened on its own. From what we've gathered, this guy is a gamer on TikTok and had never posted paranormal content before taking on this strange quest. Do you think these are real paranormal activities caught on camera, and that he brought home a truly haunted piece?
Did that move?
Yep.
Let us know in the comments. Number 2. Phantom Intruder. On the night of July 2024, this family's motion detection camera captured something so terrifying it left their faces pale in fear. Living in a neighborhood known for high theft rates and the occasional wild animal wandering into homes, they had installed cameras for extra protection. But just after midnight, one of the cameras detected movement in one of the rooms, alerting them to a potential intruder. What the camera picked up that night, however, was unlike anything they'd ever imagined. This was the chilling footage that made them seriously consider leaving the area for good.
Attention, you are under surveillance. 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 Attention, you are under surveillance.
Someone, or something, was seen riding their kid's bike around. Although quite subtle, there's no way it could have been done by the wind or someone from the other room. The bike kept moving even after entering the room, without a single soul in sight. How do you even begin to make sense of this? Number 1. The haunted basement. It was a pretty chill Sunday afternoon, and Reddit user VanillaBear24399 decided to film her 2 dogs playing in the living room, while her brother played video games in his room. Everything felt normal, until she started hearing strange knocks and the unmistakable sound of a doorknob turning. Turning her camera toward the source of the disturbance, she captured this. According to her, this was the first time something like this would happen in years, let alone be caught on camera. But the house itself isn't free from a paranormal past. She claims that although the house belongs to their parents and isn't particularly old, there have been instances of eerie knocks and small noises here and there that often left the family unsettled. Adding to the creep factor, she shared that she's dreaded the basement town storage room since childhood. She always felt like someone or something was watching her from the shadows. Every time she went down there, she'd feel an unsettling tightness in her chest. She also recalls a time while growing up when she saw a fully formed figure of a man standing at the doorstep of her bedroom, as she read a bedtime story to her younger sister. Since they had no male guests then, and the figure was only there for about a second, she thought she might have just imagined it. But this wasn't the only strange encounter around the house. Her brother also once saw a figure like the one she'd seen, only this time it was in the basement. And on another occasion, her little sister screamed so loud that it woke the entire house. They rushed to her, thinking she was being attacked. And when she eventually spilled the tea on what actually happened, she said that she'd seen a shadow at the bottom of the staircase. Now that they've managed to catch something on camera, will it be enough to convince their parents to have the place cleansed? I guess we'll never know.
Oh, yeah. Let's see that again here. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that, guys.
I guess we'll not rush to her. Counterkind. She thought she might have just imagined it.
Growing up, I have two other experiences that I don't think will ever leave my memory. One was seeing a full-figured man in my bedroom while reading a story to my younger sister. I had thought it was actually a person, but he was only there for a second. I had gone and asked my mom if someone was visiting, but she said it was just her and my siblings. The other was late at night when I was in the living room. I heard a little girl's voice. It was well past 11 p.m. and I could not place where the voice was coming from. Ooh, yikes. Okay. This again.
The bike kept moving even after entering the room, without a single soul in sight.
Whoa.
How do you even begin to make sense of this?
That's for paranormal.
Number 1. The haunted basement. It was a pretty chill Sunday afternoon, and Reddit user VanillaBear24399 decided to film her 2 dogs playing in the living room, while her brother played video games in his room. Everything felt normal, until she started hearing strange knocks and the unmistakable sound of a doorknob turning. Turning her camera toward the source of the disturbance, she captured this. According to her, this was the first time something like this would happen in years, let alone be caught on camera. But the house itself isn't free from a paranormal past. She claims that although the house belongs to their parents and isn't particularly old, there have been instances of eerie knocks and small noises here and there that often left the family unsettled. Adding to the creep factor, she shared that she's dreaded the basement-turned storage room since childhood. She always felt like someone or something was watching her from the shadows. Every time she went down there, she'd feel an unsettling tightness in her chest. She also recalls a time while growing up when she saw a fully formed figure of a man standing at the doorstep of her bedroom as she read a bedtime story to her younger sister. Since they had no male guests then, and the figure was only there for about a second, she thought she might have just imagined it. But this wasn't the only strange encounter around the house. Her brother also once saw a figure like the one she'd seen, only this time it was in the basement. And on another occasion, her little sister screamed so loud that it woke the entire house.
Wow.
They rushed to her,
That's
thinking she was being attacked. And when she eventually spilled the tea on what actually happened, she said that she'd seen a shadow at the bottom of the staircase. Now that they've managed to catch something on camera, will it be enough to convince their parents to have the place cleansed? I guess we'll never know.
Okay, well, my apologies for nodding off, guys. That was an accident. Oh boy. Blah. Let's see, what time is it? 6:22. You know what? Let me scroll through these real quick. Oh, here we go. Here's Nuke's Top 5. Here we go. We haven't watched this yet. Brand new. Scary abandoned building encounters to turn you into a hermit. Oh, why not? Maybe I can stay awake through this. Alright. 5 scary abandoned building encounters to turn you into a hermit. Okay, well here. Maybe I can stay awake through this. We can always hope. Sheesh. Oh boy. Alright, here we go, guys.
From the dawn of humanity, the spirit of adventure has been a constant companion. Driven by the need to survive, our ancestors explored the world, searching for food, shelter, and safety. As civilians grew and societies evolved, the concept of exploration transformed. Today, while most of us no longer rely on exploration for survival, the innate desire to discover remains deeply ingrained within us. Urban exploration, or urbex, involves venturing into abandoned or forgotten man-made structures, as well as hidden spaces within larger buildings. Often accompanied by photography or video documentation, these explorations aim to capture the eerie beauty of decaying sites. Popular destinations for urbex enthusiasts include ghost towns, abandoned hospitals, schools, malls, factories, underground catacombs, storm drains, and old utility or transit tunnels. However, this type of exploration is not without its risks. From unstable structures and physical hazards to legal consequences for trespassing, urban explorers often face serious dangers.
Oh, yeah.
Additionally, the history of urban exploration is marred by chilling encounters with intruders, the paranormal, or unexplained mysteries. To provide a deeper understanding of the unsettling discoveries associated with exploring the abandoned corners of the earth, here are 5 creepy abandoned building encounters caught on camera. Alabama Asylum Discovery. For the last 10 years or so, the urban exploration YouTube channel The Proper People have explored abandoned buildings, parks, and other locales all over the world. They've garnered quite the following, and have especially gained the respect of the urbex community by avoiding cheap jump scares and doctoring their footage in an attempt to go viral. It's why their discovery made in an abandoned Alabama asylum in 2016 was all the more creepier. In the waning months of that year, Brian and Michael ventured to the American South to visit Jemison, Alabama, a small town at the bottom of the Appalachian Mountains. In the 1830s, the influential Jemison family settled near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with Robert Jemison Jr. becoming a key figure in local development. This led to the creation of the Jemison Center during segregation to house African American patients. In 1970, a journalist's expose revealed the horrific conditions at the Jemison Center for decades. Patients were subjected to severe overcrowding, with many forced to sleep on bare floors due to insufficient beds. Sanitation was abysmal, with overflowing toilets and a pervasive stench throughout the facility. Medical care was grossly inadequate, leaving many patients untreated for both physical and mental ailments.
Oh my gosh.
Reports emerged of patients being physically restrained for extended periods, often in isolation rooms, without proper supervision or care. The food was substandard and often served in unsanitary conditions. Staff members were overwhelmed, leading to neglect and, in some cases, abuse of patients. It's why it was to nobody's surprise that the Proper People stumbled upon the structure reclaimed by nature, but covered with graffiti. After only a few minutes of searching, they'd make the scariest discovery of them all. After walking up to the window and filming the staircase across from them, Brian and Michael capture what appears to be a light source being held by another person. The creepiest aspect of this is how the light disappears as soon as the two explorers turn off their lights too. Whoever was underneath those stairs, they did not want to be seen. The Proper People immediately sense danger and head back to their car, which remains the only vehicle in the vicinity. It's hard to imagine whoever was hiding in that asylum. They were doing all they could to avoid detection. Who's to say what would have happened to Brian and Michael had they not spotted that light source from the second-story window? They could have been mugged, attacked, or worse. There are also those who wonder if that light source is connected to the morbid and macabre history of the Jemison Center itself. Surely, a structure surviving the terrors of the past, along with the unsettling aura of the Appalachian Mountains in general, is going to harbor something sinister. Luckily for the Proper People, they didn't stick around to find out.
Probably a good thing.
The Hinsdale Devil. In the scorching summer of 2023, the Paranormal XP team embarked on a terrifying journey to one of New York's most notorious haunted locales, the Hinsdale Hell House. This chilling abode gained its sinister reputation in the 1970s when the Dandy family, its former residents, endured relentless paranormal torment. The disturbances became so severe that they sought the help of a priest to exorcise the malevolent spirits from the house. Despite the priest's efforts, the evil forces remained, forcing the Dandies to flee their home. The priest, no stranger to such malevolent hauntings, had previously been involved in another infamous case, the Amityville Horror House, where he worked alongside renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Like Amityville, the Hinsdale House is believed to be haunted by multiple spirits. However, the Paranormal XP team discovered that the darkness might extend beyond the house itself, perhaps into the very land beneath it. During their investigation, captured around the 9:25 mark in their video, viewers are treated to a chilling spectacle. A sinister, smiling face appears briefly behind a curtain on the right side of the screen, watching the investigators with an unsettling intensity. The figure vanishes as quickly as it appears, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness it. Curiously, none of the Paranormal XP team seems to notice the apparition during the filming, and it remains unmentioned after the video's release. This raises questions about whether they were even aware of what they had captured. Some skeptics might dismiss it as a clever hoax, designed to frighten and entertain. However, the lack of acknowledgement from the creators adds an additional layer of mystery. If it was a genuine oversight, the implications are even more terrifying. What other unseen horrors might be lurking at the Hinsdale Hell House, waiting in the shadows?
3.
The Eyes of Briscoe Park. Visual artist Briscoe Park has gained notoriety for his captivating and often unsettling photographic work, pushing the boundaries of atmospheric imagery. His last endeavor, however, has ignited widespread online discourse, leaving viewers both fascinated and disconcerted. Park recently began sharing unnarrated behind-the-scenes footage from his photo expeditions, allowing audiences to experience the raw ambience of the derelict locations he documents. His most recent upload, entitled Tape 05, has garnered particular attention due to a potentially paranormal occurrence. At approximately 2 minutes and 45 seconds into the video, as Park's camera pans across a dilapidated interior, an unexpected sight appears. Briefly visible through a window are a pair of eyes, unnaturally close set and gleaming yellow in the beam of Park's light. This fleeting moment has become the focal point of intense speculation among viewers.
What is that?
Discussions about the nature of these eyes have proliferated online. Some attribute the sighting to local wildlife, perhaps a feral cat startled by human intrusion into its domain.
It could be wildlife.
Others lean towards supernatural explanations, suggesting the eyes might belong to an otherworldly entity bound to the forsaken structure. The brevity of the encounter, with the eyes quickly vanishing from view, has only fueled further conjecture. However, the strangest part of all might be the return of these little glowing eyes in later videos captured by Park. In a TikTok upload a couple of weeks later, Park's camera work inadvertently captured another set of eyes. Approximately 15 seconds into the footage, as the lens sweeps across a dilapidated chamber, faint luminous spots are visible through a window to the right, seemingly emanating from the fields beyond. Upon closer inspection, These distant glimmers bear a striking resemblance to the enigmatic eyes observed in Park's previous recording. This second sighting has sparked renewed debate among the viewers. Some dismiss the lights as merely reflections from nocturnal felines. Others propose more mundane explanations, suggesting they might be distant vehicle headlights or reflections from Park's equipment. The controversy deepened when, at the 26-second mark of the same video, Park's camera revealed a chilling sight: a weathered noose suspended from the ceiling.
Ooh.
This disturbing image has proven more challenging to rationalize.
Ooh.
While some skeptics accuse Park of staging the scene for dramatic effect,
I don't think
close
he did.
examination reveals a rope that appears authentically aged and soiled, consistent with the building's overall state of decay. The presence of the noose invites dark speculation about its origins and purpose. Was it a remnant of a tragic suicide, or perhaps evidence of something more sinister? Could the building be haunted by a restless spirit?
Might.
Its abandonment linked to a grim past? Some viewers even theorize that the mysterious glowing eyes might belong to a lingering presence. It was to the surprise of no one when, in a later TikTok upload, Park documented a third occurrence of peculiar amber orbs. These enigmatic lights are prominently featured in the opening frame of the video, making them impossible to overlook.
Ooh,
A prevailing theory among the audience suggests that the source might be a woodland deer, given the intensity of the glow and the apparent size of the creature.
Might be.
This interpretation gains credence from the way the lights seem to blink as the subject turns its head. Despite this plausible explanation, some viewers remain skeptical. They point out that Park typically employs a powerful spotlight during his shoots, and question why a typical skittish animal like a deer would remain so composed in close proximity to human activity and intense illumination. Some speculate that this particular animal might be habituated to human presence, while others suggest its actions could indicate a nervous response common in wildlife encountering unfamiliar stimuli. However, a subset of Park's audience rejects the deer hypothesis entirely. These viewers propose more unconventional explanations, ranging from shape-shifting cryptids to supernatural entities mimicking natural fauna. Regardless of the true nature of these recurring amber lights, they continue to captivate Park's audience and fuel ongoing speculation about the strange phenomena captured in his work. Georgia's Parallel Universe. Last year, the YouTube channel Sidestep Adventures into History, known for documenting abandoned and intriguing locations throughout the southeastern United States, released a video featuring a dilapidated structure deep in the forests of Georgia. The structure had clearly been neglected for years, slowly succumbing to the elements in its remote location. As the two explorers investigated the old home, they uncovered a few intriguing relics and pieced together some information about the building's age and history. However, their exploration soon took an unsettling turn. During their examination of the house's underfloor area, the team was startled by the unmistakable sound of someone walking on the floor above.
Oh yeah, this.
This is the 8-coat model, right? What is this?
I remember this.
Alarmed,
I remember this.
They swiftly exited the crawl space
And there's nobody
rushed
there.
upstairs, only to find the house deserted. This unsettling experience was not isolated.
Sounded just like footsteps. It's not funny. No.
Ooh.
As they were concluding their documentary, another inexplicable noise resonated through the structure, unnerving the investigators to such an extent that they decided to cut their exploration short.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. So I hope you guys have...
Devoted viewers of the channel noted that this particular episode portrayed the team as unusually rattled, which intensified the overall sense of unease.
All right, that's it. Come on. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's get out of here.
The unexplained auditory phenomena sparked intense discussion among the audience. Some viewers attributed the sounds to supernatural entities, while others proposed a more unconventional explanation: the notion of temporal intersection. This hypothesis suggests that distinct periods in time can momentarily converge, allowing individuals in the present to perceive faint echoes from different eras.
I'm not too sure about that.
If such a phenomenon were possible, the noises detected by the explorers might have originated from people in another time period, equally perplexed by the strange disturbances beneath their feet.
I think you all got a little too much time on your hands.
This perplexing incident invites speculation. What was the true source of these sounds? Could it have been a staged event by the content creators? Were they genuine paranormal manifestations from a former resident? Or did the team encounter something even more extraordinary? A brief overlap between the past and present? Perhaps the structure itself, steeped in centuries of history, continues to resonate with residual energy.
One.
Ghost Town, Florida Man. About half a decade ago, a content creator specializing in paranormal investigations and abandoned locations embarked on a new project. This YouTuber, who goes by the moniker Franco TV, decided to document his journey through a deserted community in the marshy regions of Florida. The area, which had been uninhabited for quite some time, was rumored to contain bizarre markings and peculiar artifacts. Franco's goal was to document any supernatural occurrences while capturing footage of the dilapidated structures that remained. At first, the incursion seemed rather mundane, with Franco uncovering mostly innocuous items. However, he did stumble upon an intriguing discovery: a shipping container housing a decapitated Minnie Mouse effigy, accompanied by an unusual graffiti design above it. As night fell, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Franco's recording equipment picked up what appeared to be a disembodied laughter emanating from one of the vacant dwellings, along with faint sounds that could have been either music or distant conversations. During his ongoing exploration, Franco observed a small automobile passing through the abandoned neighborhood, its headlights illuminating the desolate streets. Initially, he speculated that it might be another urban explorer intrigued by his presence. To avoid any potential complications, Franco maintained a low profile, considering the possibility that it could be law enforcement or security personnel. The situation took an even more disconcerting turn as complete darkness enveloped the ghost town. Franco noticed an imposing, well-built individual standing approximately 100 meters away,
that's not good.
illuminated by a street light. The unexpected presence of this figure caused Franco to reconsider his expedition. Feeling increasingly apprehensive, he attempted to depart discreetly, but soon realized that the mysterious silhouette was trailing him, albeit from a distance. Take a look. Recognizing the growing risk, the YouTuber opted to terminate his investigation prematurely. He reached out to a local friend for assistance in departing the location safely. Upon the friend's arrival, Franco hastily entered the vehicle. After recounting his experience, he requested to take the wheel, driven by a lingering curiosity to catch one final glimpse of his pursuer. Following a brief search of the area, they eventually re-encountered a mysterious stalker. Now clearly visible, the stranger donned what appeared to be a mask, evocative of the iconic horror film villain Michael Myers. The figure also clutched what seemed to be a wooden weapon. While the true intentions of this masked individual remained unclear, whether to cause harm or merely deter trespassers, the sheer physical presence of the imposing figure was undeniably intimidating. The content creator speculated that the mysterious person might have been under the influence of alcohol or narcotics, attempting to frighten away urban explorers. Some viewers proposed more sinister motives. It's worth noting that the abandoned community is reportedly used as a temporary shelter by individuals experiencing homelessness. Interestingly, some audience members pointed out that this same menacing figure had been observed in footage from another urban explorer who had visited the same location. Regardless of the masked individual's actual motives, encountering such a presence in an isolated, abandoned area under cover of darkness is undoubtedly a harrowing experience for any explorer.
Goodness. Yeah, I think the most dangerous thing that you can encounter is not the paranormal. It's not the paranormal. It's another person, because paranormal is one thing. Encountering another human being, especially one with an attempt to harm you, that's another matter entirely, because the worst monsters out there are people. Oh, no. Let's see. It's 6. All right, guys. I apologize for nodding off, guys. I am so sorry. Next time, I'm just going to grab me some coffee and just hold the line. Make sure I'm good and awake before I start any of this again. Alright, guys. That's it. I'm going to stop right here. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Leonidas Carpenter, thank you for joining the channel. Welcome to the channel. Sean Ozone, thanks for getting on and chatting. And guys, if you're watching this right now after the broadcast, thank you for watching the broadcast. Thank you for sticking around, especially with my goofiness. I promise for later on down the road, I'll be more awake. So, alright guys, I'll probably do some more. If I don't do any more tonight, I'll probably do some more tomorrow during Halloween. We'll have to see. Until then, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thank you all for being on. Thank you all for joining me. Until then, I will see you all in the next video. Until then, you guys stay safe. You stay awesome. Oh, and by the way, like I said before, it is election year in the U.S. I don't care who you vote for. Get your asses out there and vote. That's what my dad and I did today. So get out there and vote. Your opinion counts. I don't care who you're voting for. This is your right as a U.S. citizen. It's your privilege too. So don't go moping around and saying, "Oh, my opinion doesn't count. I hate voting. I don't bother voting." Don't think like that. Always remember that one person can make a difference. Get out and vote. If you got to register to vote, then register to vote. Get you a voter identification card. Your voter identification cards aren't just good for for voting. They can be good for other things too. You know, but yeah, guys, get out and vote. Make your opinions count. So, all right. All right, good for you, Sean. Good for you. All right, guys, that's enough. I'm going to stop this broadcast, and I'll see you guys later, okay? Until then, you guys stay safe, stay awesome. And if I don't see you during that time or after that time, you guys have a safe and happy Halloween.